Manufacturers learned something after the pandemic rush. Throwing anything at the market doesn't work anymore. Riders got smarter, budgets got tighter, and the bikes that actually sell in 2026 aren't the wildest ones or the cheapest ones. We're not stuck with the same recycled platforms and safe bets anymore. There's actual new stuff worth paying attention to. So here are the 10 motorcycles driving the most buzz right now. Adventure bikes have gotten massive and expensive. Flagship models are pushing $30,000 and 600 pounds wet. Most riders don't need that much bike, and that's where the BMW GS mid-range comes in. BMW's mid-range GS is the volume seller. It's not the aspirational flagship everyone dreams about, but it's the bike that actually moves off dealer floors. The strategy here is simple. Get riders into the GS ecosystem without the size, weight, or cost barriers of the R1250 or R1300. Upright ergonomics, long travel suspension, proven reliability. Everything that made the GS name dominant without asking for flagship money. This is BMW's global product. It works everywhere from European mountain roads to North American highways to Asian markets, where displacement taxes actually matter. The liquid-cooled parallel twin runs through a 6-speed gearbox with chain final drive. Power delivery prioritizes broad torque over peak numbers, exactly what matters when you're loaded with gear or riding 2-up for hours. Suspension is tuned for stability and all-day comfort rather than aggressive trail work. The 19-inch front and 17-inch rear wheels split the difference between road stability and off-pavement capability without committing too hard either way. Electronics depend on trim level, but you're getting ABS, traction control, ride modes, and a TFT display with Bluetooth and navigation. Higher trims add cornering ABS that actually works when you're leaned over on gravel. Heated grips and cruise control show up as options. The package is already more complete than most competitors at this price point. Yes, the BMW costs more than the KTM 390 Adventure, Honda Transalp, and Yamaha Tenere 700. But riders justify it with premium build quality, dealer network availability, and trust that the bike won't leave them stranded 500 miles from home. That matters when you're planning long trips or relying on the bike daily. Dealers are paying attention because this solves BMW's accessibility problem. The flagship models generate prestige, but the mid-range GS generates revenue. It's the bike that brings riders into the brand and keeps them there long enough to eventually upgrade. That's why it's generating serious interest heading into 2026. Suzuki finally retired the ancient SV650 platform. What replaced it had to work across multiple body styles, meet current emission standards, and compete with bikes that had already moved on years ago. The GSX8 is Suzuki's modern middleweight architecture. One engine, one chassis concept, multiple body styles. GSX8S for the naked bike crowd, GSX8R for sport riders, and probably more variants coming. The goal was to simplify production while catching up to what Yamaha, Honda, and Kawasaki were already doing in the middleweight class. Suzuki needed a platform they could actually build around instead of stretching 40-year-old designs past their limits. The 776cc parallel twin uses a 270-degree crank. That gives it V-twin-like character without actually building a V-twin. Smoother low-end response, better traction feel, and around 80 horsepower with 58 foot-pounds of torque. Electronic fuel injection with ride-by-wire throttle means smoother power delivery and better fuel economy than the old SV ever managed. 6-speed gearbox with a slipper clutch handles the shifting. Higher trims get a bi-directional quickshifter that works cleanly both ways. Steel frame keeps costs reasonable, while the aluminum swing arm shaves weight where it matters. 17-inch wheels front and rear keep tire options wide open. Electronics include ride modes, traction control with multiple intervention levels, and a TFT display with vehicle data. Low RPM assist helps with stop-and-go traffic without stalling at lights. Suzuki's drive mode selector adjusts throttle response depending on conditions. Inverted forks up front, monoshock in the rear. Dual front discs with radial-mounted calipers and ABS standard. The GSX8 goes head-to-head with the Yamaha MT-07, Honda Hornet 750, and Kawasaki Z650. Suzuki's positioning emphasizes strong torque delivery, modern electronics, and competitive pricing. That's been Suzuki's strategy for years. Build solid bikes, price them right, and let the value proposition do the work. What makes the GSX8 relevant for 2026 is that Suzuki needed this. The SV650 couldn't last forever, and the middleweight segment kept moving without them. This platform brings Suzuki back into the conversation with something that actually competes on specs and features, instead of just nostalgia and budget pricing. Dealers needed a modern middleweight they could sell without apologizing for outdated tech. The GSX8 gives them that. Triumph's Modern Classics lineup has been massively successful globally. They figured out how to monetize heritage without just selling nostalgia. Continuously updating engines, chassis, and electronics while preserving classic aesthetics. That approach positioned them as a premium alternative to Japanese middleweights and European performance brands. The Scrambler 900 expands that strategy into the accessible middleweight Scrambler segment, where most buyers actually shop. 900cc liquid-cooled parallel twin, producing around 64 horsepower and 59 foot-pounds of torque. 5 or 6-speed gearbox, depending on model. The power curve is designed for usability rather than peak numbers, giving you smooth delivery from low revs through the mid-range. 19-inch front, 17-inch rear wheels in Scrambler configuration give you enough ground clearance for fire roads without feeling unstable on pavement. Long travel front forks and twin rear shocks, or monoshock, depending on variant, handle the suspension duties. Electronics include ride modes, traction control, ABS, and TFT display on select models. Upright ergonomics, wide handlebars, minimalist bodywork with premium finishes that actually look finished instead of cheap. Design pulls heavily from Triumph's historical models, but incorporates modern lighting, refined materials, and improved rider comfort for daily use. LED lighting works properly. Seats are designed for actual riding, and the switchgear functions without falling apart. These bikes are designed for riders who value character and everyday usability over outright performance. Versatility spans urban riding, light touring, and occasional off-pavement use without forcing riders to commit to one role. Direct competition is the Ducati Scrambler line and similar retro-styled machines. Pricing sits around $10,000 to $12,000. That reflects Triumph's premium branding and build quality rather than performance dominance. You're buying distinctive design, solid engineering, and the Triumph name without the maintenance headaches of older British motorcycles. The Scrambler 900 fills the gap between entry-level retro bikes and expensive boutique builds. Riders want heritage styling but also want fuel injection that works, ABS that's reliable, and dealer support that exists beyond major cities. The Modern Classics lineup already proved there's serious market demand for this. Triumph brings it to the middleweight segment where most riders actually shop and can justify the price without stretching budgets or settling for compromised engineering. That's exactly why dealers are pushing it hard for 2026. Litter bikes get the headlines, but most riders can't use 200 horsepower on the street. Track days and canyon rides don't need that much power. What actually makes sense is a middleweight sport bike with enough performance to be fun without being completely unusable everywhere except a racetrack. That's where the Yamaha YZF-R7 fits. The R7 leverages Yamaha's CP2 platform, the same liquid-cooled 689cc parallel twin that shows up in the MT-07 and Tenere 700. That's intentional. Yamaha shares reliable engine architecture across multiple models instead of chasing all-new everything for every bike. It's cheaper to develop, easier to service, and parts availability stays strong for years. Around 74 horsepower and 49 foot-pounds of torque channeled through a 6-speed gearbox with slipper clutch. Higher trims get a quick shifter that works smoothly enough for track use. 17-inch wheels front and rear keep tire selection wide open. Inverted front forks, rear monoshock, ABS, traction control, and a TFT display round out the package. The R7 adopts aggressive R-Series styling inspired by Yamaha's Supersport and MotoGP machines, but the riding position is more relaxed than traditional Supersports. That makes it usable for actual riding instead of just looking fast in photos. You can ride this bike for hours without your wrists screaming. Design emphasizes aerodynamic fairings, compact proportions, and a rider-focused cockpit that works for both street and track day use without forcing compromises either way. Direct competition is the Aprilia RS660 and Kawasaki Ninja 650. Expected pricing sits around $9,500 to $10,500. That's competitive for what you're getting. The Aprilia has more advanced electronics and slightly higher performance, but the Yamaha counters with proven reliability and a dealer network that exists beyond major cities. When something breaks, you can actually get it fixed. For 2026, the R7 continues serving as Yamaha's bridge between entry-level sport bikes and high-performance leader machines. Middleweight sport bikes disappeared for years because they're expensive to develop without huge profit margins. Yamaha kept this segment alive anyway. The R7 delivers accessible performance, sharp handling, and everyday rideability without asking riders to justify supersport extremes. That's why it's still relevant when most manufacturers abandon this class entirely. The Ducati Panigale V4R is generating more buzz than anything else on this list. 208 horsepower in standard trim, climbing past 230 with the race exhaust. 186 kilograms wet. MotoGP-derived aerodynamics with winglets that look like they belong on a factory racer. This bike dominates forum discussions and shows up on phone wallpapers everywhere, and most of the people talking about it will never own one. Ducati didn't build this to sell volume. They built it to win races and prove what's possible when you refuse to compromise. The V4R exists primarily as a homologation platform for World SBK racing. Road legality is a technicality to satisfy regulations. Everything about this bike prioritizes track performance over street usability. The 998cc Desmosedici Stradale R engine revs extremely high, with power delivery focused on top-end acceleration. 84 foot-pounds arrives high in the rev range because this was designed for racing first. The chassis comes straight from Ducati course racing designs. Fully adjustable Öhlins suspension built for precision under track conditions. Brembo Stylema calipers with dual 330mm discs. The electronic suite is completely IMU-based with cornering ABS, traction control, wheelie control, slide control, launch control, and engine brake management, all of it configurable for track setup. This is Ducati's technological flagship, showcasing a decade of pivoting toward V4 architecture derived from MotoGP competition. The V4R is the clearest expression of that commitment. It competes directly with the BMW M1000RR in the elite homologation tier, where brands prove engineering capabilities through racing dominance. Who actually buys these? Experienced riders who already own high-end sport bikes, collectors looking for exclusivity and rarity, enthusiasts who want something visually and culturally distinct from mainstream offerings, people comfortable with limited dealer networks and boutique ownership realities. This isn't for first-time superbike buyers or riders chasing the best lap time per dollar. The Panigale V4R matters because it exists in an era where everything's getting sensible and practical. Ducati still builds machines with zero compromises, and that's why people talk about it constantly, even if they're riding something completely different. It's proof that some manufacturers still chase performance extremes instead of playing it safe. Now we're onto a new cycle of the year where new stuff is coming out. Of course, we had to scoop some rumors on bikes that might not even make it to showroom floors. Spy shots, brand comebacks, strategic plays. What actually shows up could look completely different from what's being discussed right now. or it might not show up at all. Norton went through absolute hell in the late 2010s. Financial collapse, governance scandals, customers losing deposits on bikes that never got built. The brand looked completely finished. TVS Motor Company bought what was left in 2020 and spent years rebuilding from scratch. The Norton Manx R is their flagship superbike for 2026, a 1200cc V4 positioned directly against the Ducati Panigale V4 and BMW M1000RR. Claimed output sits around 206 horsepower at 11,500 RPM, with 96 foot-pounds of torque, arriving at 9,000 RPM. The engine is tuned for strong mid-range pull rather than just chasing peak numbers. Semi-active Marzocchi suspension handles the damping adjustments. Brembo brakes with dual 330mm front discs manage the stopping power, and the electronics package includes lean-sensitive traction control and ABS. Claimed wet weight sits at 204 kilograms. Norton is going after that boutique superbike space where heritage and exclusivity count as much as lap times. The Manx R targets experienced riders who already own high-end sport bikes and want something different. Collectors chasing rarity over racing pedigree. Buyers comfortable with limited dealer networks and the realities of owning a low-volume British superbike. This isn't for first-time buyers or people hunting the best performance per dollar. It's not designed to outsell established bikes or dominate track days. After years of scandal and collapse, Norton needed a flagship that could compete technologically with modern superbikes. The Manx R is that bike. Whether it actually sells in serious numbers or sets records doesn't matter as much as showing the brand can build competitive motorcycles again. For Norton, just being back in the conversation counts for something. Honda is the world's largest motorcycle manufacturer, and they're finally putting out a full-size electric motorcycle for mainstream street use. The WN7 debuted publicly in 2025, with production starting late that year. First deliveries hit Europe in early 2026, with other markets following. The liquid-cooled electric motor puts out up to 50 kilowatts, roughly 67 horsepower, with 100 Newton-meters of instant torque. That's comparable to mid-displacement petrol bikes, but with all the torque available immediately. Single-speed transmission with belt final drive keeps things simple. The fixed lithium-ion battery pack holds around 9 to 9.3 kilowatt hours and gives you a claimed range of 130 to 140 kilometers on the WMTC cycle. DC fast charging gets you from 20 to 80% in about 30 minutes. AC home charging through Type 2 connector handles overnight top-ups. Curb weight sits at 217 kilograms. The frame uses a structural battery case design where the battery pack contributes to chassis rigidity. 43mm inverted forks up front, monoshock in the rear, dual 296mm front discs with ABS. Electronics include multiple ride modes, regenerative braking, cornering ABS, and Honda selectable torque control. 5-inch TFT display with Honda Road Sync connectivity and LED lighting throughout. The WN7 is positioned as Honda's electric credibility builder rather than a mass-market disruptor. It targets urban and suburban riders with access to home or workplace charging. Commuters replacing a petrol bike rather than adding a second toy. Riders prioritizing low maintenance and quiet operation. Initial rollout focuses on Europe, with pricing around £12,999 in the UK. This isn't chasing maximum performance or range. It's Honda normalizing electric motorcycles for everyday riders by pairing EV technology with their reputation for conservative engineering and reliability. The Himalayan 450 is excellent for what it is, but it runs out of breath on highways and struggles with sustained high-speed riding. But the riders planning longer-distance adventure travel kept asking for more displacement. The Himalayan 750 is Royal Enfield's answer, expected to arrive in the later 2026 to 2027 window. Development status sits somewhere between active prototypes and final production spec. Spy photos show testing underway, but no official specifications have been released yet. What's expected based on industry previews and prototype sightings is a parallel twin engine around 750cc, adventure touring ergonomics, a larger fuel tank for extended range and improved highway comfort compared to the 450, touring-oriented suspension and wheel sizes designed for sustained road use with occasional off-pavement capability. The Himalayan 750 addresses a long-standing gap in Royal Enfield's lineup. A highway-capable adventure bike that retains the brand's mechanical simplicity but overcomes the power and speed limitations of earlier Himalayans. Rather than competing with premium European adventure bikes, its role is offering accessible global adventure touring at a price point far below traditional ADV segment leaders. This targets riders upgrading from smaller adventure or standard bikes, long-distance travelers prioritizing simplicity over electronics, riders planning travel in regions with limited service infrastructure, budget-conscious adventure riders who want displacement without complexity. The appeal is global serviceability, simple mechanical design, and strong value proposition. Royal Enfield built its modern reputation on affordable, mechanically simple motorcycles. After the success of the 650 twin platform and the Himalayan 450, a larger Himalayan-branded adventure model makes complete sense. The 750 fills the gap between entry-level adventure bikes and expensive premium ADVs, where most riders actually shop. Kawasaki is reviving the KLE nameplate for 2026 as an entry-level adventure motorcycle. The original KLE ran for years as a simple, reliable, dual-purpose machine. The new version brings that philosophy into modern emissions compliance with updated technology. The 451cc liquid-cooled parallel twin produces around 51 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and 31.7 foot-pounds of torque at 7,500. 6-speed transmission, 21-inch front wheel, 17-inch rear, long travel suspension for mixed on- and off-road riding with upright ergonomics that work for standing or sitting. Single 300mm front disc, 230mm rear disc, ABS standard. The focus is ease of use, durability, and approachability, rather than high performance or advanced electronics. Base pricing sits around the mid-$6,000 range in the US market. That positions it against lightweight and mid-capacity adventure bikes rather than premium ADVs. Kawasaki has a long history of building value-oriented motorcycles with durable engines. The KLE 500 fits squarely into that philosophy. Build bikes that work well across many use cases, without excelling narrowly in one. This occupies the entry to mid-adventure category. Riders new to adventure or dual-purpose motorcycles. Commuters who want light off-road capability. Practical riders, prioritizing reliability and ease of ownership. Buyers who want a motorcycle that can do a bit of everything without specializing. Riders who value widespread dealer support and affordable parts availability. The KLE 500 isn't exciting or technologically advanced. That's intentional. Its role is being accessible, durable, and predictable. Low ownership risk, broad usability, predictable long-term reliability, reasonable purchase and maintenance costs. Kawasaki is betting there's still demand for straightforward motorcycles that just work without needing advanced rider aids or premium finishes. Chinese manufacturers have been climbing the displacement ladder for years. QJ Motor, part of Qianjiang Group, which also owns Benelli, is pushing directly into litter-class performance territory with the SRK921RR. This is an existing production model gaining traction globally, not a new 2026 debut. But it's generating serious buzz as riders realize what Chinese brands are actually capable of building now. The liquid-cooled inline-4 displaces around 921cc and produces somewhere between 127 and 130 horsepower, depending on market tuning. 6-speed transmission with quick shifter, sportbike-oriented aluminum frame, dual front discs with performance calipers. Electronics include ride modes, traction control, ABS, and a TFT display. The specifications, density, is competitive with established sport bikes at a significantly lower price point. QJ Motor positions this as a value-driven alternative to traditional leader-class sport bikes. Strong performance and modern electronics without premium Japanese or European pricing. The SRK921RR functions as a brand perception vehicle for QJ Motor, signaling technical ambition and challenging the assumption that high-displacement sport bikes must come from legacy manufacturers. This targets value-driven performance buyers, riders upgrading from middleweight sport bikes, buyers comfortable with newer or less established brands, enthusiasts focused on specs per dollar rather than badge prestige, riders in markets with established QJ Motor or Benelli dealer support. It's not for brand-loyal superbike purists, buyers requiring extensive aftermarket ecosystems, or risk-averse riders prioritizing long-term resale value. The SRK921RR matters because it represents Chinese manufacturers moving beyond budget commuters into serious performance segments. Whether it sells in huge numbers or becomes a collector, favorite doesn't matter as much as proving Chinese brands can build competitive sport bikes. That shift is already reshaping how riders think about where performance motorcycles come from. 2026 isn't bringing some massive revolution to motorcycles. Most of what's getting attention are practical middleweights, accessible adventure bikes, and a few comeback stories from brands rebuilding after collapse. Half this list you can walk into a dealer and buy right now. The other half might look completely different by the time it actually shows up, if it shows up at all. If you're shopping, focus on what's available instead of waiting around for rumors to turn into something real. The bike sitting on the showroom floor beats the one that might exist next year.